You've been there, right? Working nonstop all day, crossing things off the list, maybe even putting in those extra hours long after you plan to stop.
Oh, yeah.
And yet when you finally hit pause or even just look at your to-do list for tomorrow, there it is.
Yeah.
That unsettling feeling that it still wasn't enough, that you should have done more. You feel this deep stress about being unproductive, even when you're utterly exhausted.
It's a feeling that just kind of gnaws at you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can log the hours, complete the tasks, but you just can't shake this subjective sense of falling short.
Yeah.
It's like your own mind refuses to acknowledge the ground you've covered.
Exactly. It's this frustrating experience where the reality of your work doesn't match your internal perception. It's prompted people to coin terms like productivity dysmorphia, this challenging space where burnout, imposter syndrome, and anxiety converge. It's less about actual productivity and more about the intense feeling of not being productive enough.
Yeah.
Constantly pushing yourself while simultaneously failing to appreciate what you've already accomplished.
That informal term, productivity dysmorphia, it captures it really well. It describes that disconnect, that the subjective feeling of inadequacy despite, objective achievements. You don't just feel tired from working. You feel anxious about the work you still think you should be doing or maybe didn't do perfectly. Anna Cudray-Rado, who wrote about this phenomenon, highlighted how the intense pursuit of productivity becomes so overwhelming that it paradoxically prevents you from experiencing the satisfaction or enjoyment of your successes. You're so focused on the perceived deficit, you can't even see the surplus.
It creates this relentless, self-imposed pressure cooker. And it's not just personal failing, right? It's fueled by powerful external forces.
Definitely.
So this deep dive is dedicated to unpacking that pervasive stress of perceived unproductivity. We want to trace its roots back to the societal pressures that feed it, and crucially, explore how we can shift our perspective and our actions to redefine what success and productivity genuinely mean, but this time entirely on our own terms.
And to do this, we've pulled together insights from a really interesting mix of sources. We're drawing from ancient wisdom Stoic philosophy, incorporating perspectives from modern psychology, looking at research specifically on hustle culture, and integrating practical advice from experts in goal setting and mindful productivity.
So a real blend.
Yeah. The goal is to get a holistic view, understanding the problem deeply, and then equipping you, the listener, with actionable strategies to build resilience and cultivate a healthier, more fulfilling definition of what it means to be successful and productive.
All right, let's dive into that pressure cooker then. Where does this intense feeling of unproductivity, even after working hard, really come from?
Well, a significant part of it stems from that subjective feeling we mentioned, that productivity dysmorphia.
Right.
It's not about whether you completed tasks X, Y, and Z. It's that lingering feeling that X wasn't enough, Y could have been better, and you should have somehow squeezed in Z prime and A double prime,
Yeah, always more.
It's this compelling urge to do more, even when you're mentally and physically depleted. It's the pursuit itself that becomes the trap.
And this ties into a specific psychological intersection, doesn't it?
Absolutely. As described by Anna Cudray-Rado, it sits right at the nexus of burnout, imposter syndrome, and anxiety.
Okay, break this down quickly.
Sure. So burnout is the exhaustion from chronic stress. Imposter syndrome is that feeling of not being qualified or capable, doubting your skills despite evidence of competence. And anxiety is the excessive worry about future events or performance.
Got it.
So when these three collide, you get that potent mix. You're exhausted, burnout, you doubt your ability to do what you should be doing, imposter syndrome, and you're constantly worried about failing or not measuring up, anxiety.
Wow.
And this state is what makes it impossible to objectively evaluate your output. The internal turmoil just distorts your perception.
And a major accelerant in this pressure cooker is something we hear about constantly now, hustle culture.
Yes. Hustle culture is, it's a defining feature of our current work landscape, isn't it? The sources describe it as this intense social pressure to be constantly engaged in work or work-related activities, blurring the lines between personal and professional life. It encourages the idea that your career is paramount, the single most important thing, and that achieving success within it requires nonstop effort, pushing limits in all areas of your life, work, fitness, personal development. Everything needs to be optimized for maximum output.
It's not just a job, it becomes your identity, and your value is measured by how hard you're grinding.
Precisely. And this mindset becomes deeply ingrained through what's been termed internalized capitalism.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically the process by which the values of the capitalist system, primarily the relentless pursuit of productivity, accumulation, and efficiency, become internalized as personal values and like moral imperatives.
So you feel like you should always be productive?
Yeah, you feel an intrinsic need to always be productive, to be leveraging your time, to be optimizing yourself. This is why people feel guilty taking breaks, or feel compelled to check work emails on vacation, or constantly pursue side hustles even when their primary job is demanding. Your self-worth gets tied to your perceived economic or productive output.
And this isn't just abstract theory. We see it in some pretty extreme examples.
Absolutely. The sources highlight cases like the notorious 996 work schedule, common in some tech companies in China.
9 to 9, 6 days a week.
That's it. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Or you hear figures like Elon Musk frequently reporting work weeks that stretch to 80, 100, or even more hours.
Right.
These become high-profile examples that normalize or even glorify extreme levels of work, making a standard 40-hour week feel, well, inadequate in comparison.
Like you're slacking if you only work 40 hours.
Kind of. The idea that the 40-hour week is merely a formal concept and that working 60-plus hours is the de facto standard, that's a key component of this culture.
And this pressure cooker, this constant hustle, it has tangible negative consequences for our minds, right?
It really does. Research confirms a clear link between hustle culture and increased psychological distress.
Okay.
The study we looked at defined psychological distress as a negative psychological state or emotional turmoil resulting from stressful events or an inability to cope effectively.
And the symptoms?
The symptoms they measured included things like feeling profoundly sad, being persistently nervous or fidgety, feeling hopeless, experiencing everything as an effort, or feeling worthless. Pretty serious stuff.
Definitely. So the study found that engaging with or being pressured by hustle culture actively increases these feelings.
Exactly. The research hypothesis, which they confirmed, was that hustle culture has a positive effect on psychological distress, meaning the more prevalent hustle culture is in your life or environment, the more likely you are to experience these symptoms.
Wow.
Notably, among the indicators they tracked, nervousness showed the highest influence on overall distress levels.
That constant feeling of being wired, on edge.
That's it. Unable to relax. That's a hallmark of this pressure.
And did the study pinpoint specific reasons for this connection?
Yes. They identified that a major source of this stress comes from the pressure associated with perceived social class demands and rapid, often consumption-driven lifestyle changes.
Keeping up with the Joneses, basically, but on steroids?
Pretty much. That feeling that you must earn more, achieve more, acquire more to keep up or move up. Couple this with the demanding long working hours and extra workload that are intrinsic to hustle culture. And you have a direct pathway to increased distress. They also cited previous research conclusively showing that working longer hours is associated with a whole range of negative outcomes. Increased anxiety and depression, reduced sleep quality and quantity, chronic fatigue, and even severe negative health effects, including premature death in extreme cases.
Hearing including death in relation to work hours is...
Yeah, that's jarring. It really underscores just how serious this can be. It's a stark reminder that this isn't just about feeling a bit tired. It's potentially a profound well-being crisis. However, here's where the research presented a fascinating, almost paradoxical finding.
Oh, what was that?
Despite the clear link between hustle culture and psychological distress, a significant majority of the study's respondents, a full 66.67%, actually viewed hustle culture as a positive aspect.
Wait, what? 2/3 of the people surveyed saw constantly working hard, pushing their limits for these goals as good. That's wild, given the distress it causes.
It is wild. And it speaks volumes about how deeply ingrained this narrative is within society, Many people have internalized the message that this relentless grind is not only necessary, but inherently virtuous, positive, desirable even.
Even if they feel the negative effects.
Apparently. They might intellectually understand the stress it causes, but on a deeper level, they've kind of bought into the idea that this is the path to success, progress, and self-worth. It highlights the immense power of societal conditioning around work and achievement, sometimes overriding even our direct experience of suffering.
Okay, so we understand the intense pressure, the psychological cost, and how deeply embedded this mindset is. How do we even begin to counteract something so pervasive? Maybe let's turn to an ancient source of resilience.
Yes. This is where Stoicism offers such a timeless counterpoint. Instead of getting swept away by the external tides of pressure and expectation, the Stoics consistently redirect our focus inward to what is truly within our power.
It reminds me of Marcus Aurelius in Meditations. He reflects that things like pain in his hands or feet are normal if he's living a normal human life. And then he kind of muses, if stress is normal when living a human life, how can it truly be bad? It almost reframes stress as just another part of the human condition.
That quote really captures a fundamental Stoic perspective. The core belief, supported by modern psychology today, isn't that stress triggers a reaction in you. It's that stress is your reaction. As Dr. Cynthia Aquil is quoted in the sources, it's a myth that stress is external. A demanding project isn't stress, it's a stressor. Your boss isn't stress, they're a stressor. The stress is what happens inside you in response.
So the external thing is the trigger, but the stress is my internal response, my perception of that trigger.
Exactly. The real cause of your subjective feeling of stress is your physical and mental reaction, your perception of what is happening. If your interpretation, your judgment, doesn't align with your expectations or sense of control, that's where stress flourishes.
Okay.
Therefore, managing stress is fundamentally about training and controlling your perceptions, a core practice the Stoics called the discipline of perception. It's about choosing how you interpret and react to the events and people around you.
And the Stoics themselves were no strangers to immense stressors, were they?
Far from it. Think of their lives. Zeno, the founder, losing his fortune in a shipwreck, Epictetus enduring physical disability and the brutality of slavery before gaining freedom, Seneca navigating exile, precarious health, and ultimately serving and falling out of favor with the tyrannical Emperor Nero, Marcus Aurelius, an emperor himself, constantly battling plagues, wars, political intrigue, personal illness.
Wow, yeah.
They faced hardship, uncertainty, pain, and the very definition of external pressures on a scale most of us can't even imagine.
Yet they made a powerful distinction. Hardship is inevitable, but suffering or feeling stressed is often a choice based on your internal response.
That's the profound Stoic insight. They didn't deny the difficulty of life events, but they argued that your reaction to those events determined whether you suffered unnecessarily. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote to himself that he could choose not to feel harmed, and by doing so, he wouldn't be harmed. He spoke of discarding anxiety because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside.
So the stressor was real.
Absolutely.
But the debilitating feeling of stress was something he could work to manage internally.
That's the Stoic premise.
Yeah.
They believed in living an active, engaged life, contributing to the world, striving towards virtue. This inherently involves encountering challenges.
Sure.
So they needed a robust philosophy that didn't just preach withdrawal, but taught how to navigate difficulties without being consumed by stress, anxiety, or worry. Marcus Aurelius's private notes and meditations are just full of personal reminders on how to manage his thoughts, calm his anxiety, handle frustrating situations. It was an ongoing practice for him.
And the cornerstone of this practice is Epictetus's dichotomy of control, right?
Yes, this is perhaps the most practical and widely applicable Stoic concept. The core idea is deceptively simple. Rigorously distinguish between what is completely within your control and what is not.
Okay, what's in our control?
Your own judgments, opinions, desires, aversions, choices, and actions. Basically, your inner world and your responses.
And what's not?
Pretty much everything else. External events,
yes,
other people's behavior and opinions, your health, your reputation, the weather, the past, the future. The list goes on.
And the fundamental discipline is to direct your energy and focus only on what is within your control.
Precisely. As Seneca put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. This distinction is incredibly liberating.
How so?
Well, the sources explain the practical benefit. It's about resource allocation. When you stop fixating, agonizing, and worrying about all the things you cannot control, you free up immense amounts of mental and emotional energy.
Right.
That energy can then be consciously directed towards the things you can influence: your responses, your effort, your systems, your choices.
So if my stress comes from a mountain of work, instead of just feeling overwhelmed by the sheer size of the mountain, I focus on the controllable elements. How I structure my day, which task I choose to start with, how I break it down, whether I ask for help.
Exactly. That's shifting from passive worrying about the external stressor, the workload, to active engagement with the controllable aspects, your approach, your actions.
Makes sense.
Chronic, debilitating stress often stems from prolonged inaction, especially when that inaction is caused by getting paralyzed, by worry about things you can't change, or failing to act on the things you can. The Stoics were about practical action, and this action must be strategically focused where it matters. Worrying about what is not up to you is, as they saw it, just frivolous action, wasted energy that generates unnecessary stress.
Okay, so how do we take these powerful ancient ideas and weave them into practical strategies for navigating modern life, particularly the stress of feeling unproductive and the pressure of hustle culture?
Right. This is where the philosophy becomes tangible daily practice. We translate these insights into actionable techniques for building resilience and cultivating a healthier mindset.
Let's start with those stoic-rooted strategies. First one you mentioned, dissecting the source of stress.
Yeah, the feeling of stress is often like a warning light, not the problem itself. Epictetus observed that man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties. Seneca echoed this, writing that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. We tend to anticipate the worst, exaggerate the potential negative outcomes, or dwell on fears that never materialize, essentially creating more suffering in our minds than any external event could inflict.
So when that stress hits, it's a trigger to pause and investigate, like really look at it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Treat it as a command to stop and analyze. What specifically is causing this feeling right now? Is it an external circumstance, or is it my internal reaction, my interpretation, my fear about it? Seneca warned against being unhappy before the crisis even arrives. By dissecting the source, you can often nip that self-generated stress in the bud. Ask yourself, is this rational anxiety tied to a clear, manageable problem, or is it irrational anxiety, just a storm of thoughts without a concrete base? Being aware of the actual source gives you power over it.
Okay, that leads nicely into the next idea, cognitive distancing.
This is a technique central to both Stoicism and modern cognitive behavioral therapy, actually. As Epictetus famously put it, it's not things that upset us, but rather our opinions about things.
Right, the opinion about the thing.
Exactly. Marcus Aurelius similarly emphasized the importance of reliably sizing up reality, seeing things as they are, stripped of our emotional overlays or dramatic interpretations.
So the event itself is neutral, and my distress comes from the meaning or judgment I apply to it.
Precisely. And that means you have the power to change your judgment, to change the glasses you look through, so to speak.
Okay.
If something is causing you stress, step back and examine the specific thought or opinion you have about it. Can you view it differently? Can you find an alternative interpretation that is less distressing? This practice helps detach your emotions from the event itself and place them where they belong on your own controllable reactions.
Now, the next one sounds challenging. Practicing the worst-case scenario. And not just thinking about it, but living it.
Yeah, this is the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils or difficulties. It's basically a form of exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy.
Kind of. Seneca, who was a wealthy advisor to Nero, was acutely aware of how attached he was to his comforts and status, and he feared losing them. To combat this fear and the stress it caused, he didn't just intellectualize it. He would deliberately schedule days where he would live on the scantiest and cheapest fare, wearing coarse and rough dress, intentionally experiencing discomfort and lack.
Wow. And that
Just afterwards, he'd reflect, is this the condition that I feared?
So you intentionally experience a lesser version of what you fear to build resilience against the real thing.
Exactly. Tim Ferriss popularized this idea as practicing poverty. The principle is that our fear and anxiety are often rooted more in the uncertainty and imagination of potential hardship than in the actual experience of it. By deliberately exposing yourself to controllable versions of discomfort, like taking a cold shower, walking in the rain when you don't have to, eating simple meals, turning off your phone for a whole day, you strip away the fear of the unknown.
I see.
You learn that you are far more resilient than you thought, and the feared situation often isn't as bad as your anxious mind projected. It brings you back to Seneca's question, is this what I was stressed about? This familiarization reduces the power of fear and anxiety when unplanned difficulties inevitably arise.
Getting active is a strategy we hear often for stress, and you're saying it has ancient roots too.
Absolutely. Philosophers throughout history understood the deep connection between physical movement and mental clarity and well-being. Getting out of your head and into your body can profoundly shift your perspective and settle a restless mind.
Like the famous walking philosophers.
Precisely. Aristotle lectured while walking with his students. They were called the Peripatetic school. Nietzsche apparently walked for like 8 hours a day, believing profound thoughts came to him while moving. Darwin took 3 walks daily. And Søren Kierkegaard famously wrote, "Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being and walk away from every illness." Physical activity isn't just good for the body, it's a vital tool for managing stress, clearing mental clutter, and finding clarity. It helps get wisdom's voice heard over the noise, as one interpreter put it.
Finding a hobby or embracing leisure seems almost rebellious in hustle culture, doesn't it? But the Stoics weren't all work and no play.
Not at all. While they were disciplined, they weren't ascetics who rejected all enjoyment. Seneca specifically advised mixing leisure with employment.
Really?
Yeah, arguing that granting the mind periods of rest and leisure was essential for its sustenance and strength. He didn't see leisure as laziness, but as necessary for recharging and being effective during work periods.
That's a key distinction.
Definitely. Think of figures like the Roman senator Asinius Pollio, who found essential relief in writing poetry, or Winston Churchill, famous for his painting and bricklaying. Leisure activities that engage a different part of your mind or body aren't distractions. They're often essential components of long-term productivity and well-being.
Journaling is such a common recommendation for mental health today, and you're saying it's straight out of the Stoic playbook.
It truly is a practice with ancient roots. Seneca described an evening ritual of reviewing his day, writing down his actions, thoughts, errors, hiding nothing from himself. He found this process caged the monkey mind.
The monkey mind. Yeah.
That incessant chatter of thoughts, and brought a sense of peace and freedom. Epictetus urged his students to keep a close watch over themselves, as if observing an enemy in ambush, suggesting reflection and writing were key tools for self-awareness.
And Marcus Aurelius.
Well, his Meditations is perhaps the most famous example. It's basically his private journal, a dialogue with himself, wrestling with his anxieties, frustrations, and philosophical principles.
And modern research actually validates this practice, right?
Absolutely. Studies have shown that expressive writing or journaling can significantly improve well-being, especially after stressful or traumatic experiences. Writing about negative situations, but focusing on potential positive outcomes or learning from the experience has been shown to decrease emotional distress.
Doesn't matter how you do it?
Not really, and that's the beauty of it. As the sources emphasize, there's no single right way to journal. The key is simply to start getting those thoughts out of your head and onto paper or screen. Any format works: bullet points, stream of consciousness, structured questions. Just start.
Reading is another practice Seneca considered indispensable, not just for knowledge.
No, he said reading nourishes the mind and refreshes it when it becomes wearied by other tasks. He saw it not just as intellectual pursuit, but as a vital tool for maintaining mental strength and clarity. William Osler, a renowned physician, actually advised turning to classic literature, Shakespeare, Montaigne, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, specifically when feeling stressed or overwhelmed. He believed reading kept the mind strong and capable of dealing with challenges. It's presented not as an occasional luxury, but as a daily discipline to keep the mind sharp and resilient, often a more restorative escape than just passive scrolling.
Yeah, definitely. Now, a lot of people's stress is tied up in worrying about what other people think. The Stoics had strong opinions on that too, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. They viewed excessive concern with external opinion as a form of self-inflicted torment. Seneca wrote about the misery of living a sham life, constantly performing for others, afraid of being seen as you truly are outside the role you play.
Ouch.
And Marcus Aurelius expressed amazement that we often love ourselves more than anyone else, yet place more value on other people's opinions of us than our own judgment. He drew a clear line. Ambition, which relies on external validation, ties our well-being to what others say, making us fragile and easily disturbed.
Whereas sanity.
Sanity, on the other hand, ties our well-being to our own virtuous actions and judgments, which are entirely within our control.
So stop living for applause you might not even get, or might be withdrawn at any moment.
Basically, yeah. Embrace who you are and live according to your own values. This is inherently less stressful than the exhausting performance required to constantly seek or maintain the approval of others. Your inner peace is too valuable to be made dependent on the fickle opinions of the crowd.
Taking a cold shower or engaging in cold exposure is quite a physical practice, but it connects to ancient wisdom. That's surprising.
It does.
Yeah.
Various ancient cultures, including Egyptians, the Greeks, Hippocrates advocated cold baths, and Romans utilized hydrotherapy, including cold exposure. Seneca himself would apparently begin his year by taking a cold plunge into an aqueduct.
No way.
Yeah. It wasn't just for physical health. It was seen as a mental discipline, a way to build hardiness and resilience.
And modern science backs this up.
It does now, yeah. Modern science validates many of these practices, showing that cold exposure can reduce stress hormones like cortisol, boost mood-regulating neurotransmitters like beta-endorphin and noradrenaline, and even improve immune function.
So it's like a controlled challenge.
Exactly. It's a controlled physical challenge that builds mental fortitude, the ability to tolerate discomfort, and regulate your response to it.
And finally, laughter. That seems quite unexpected from the Stoics. Weren't they supposed to be stern?
Well, that's the perception, but they recognize the human need for levity in a difficult world. Chrysippus, one of the great early Stoics, is even said to have died from laughing too hard at his own joke.
Seriously.
That's the story. And Seneca noted that all things are cause for either laughter or weeping. He suggested choosing laughter as the more human response. Humor provides perspective and diffuses tension.
Okay.
Modern advocates like comedian Pete Holmes and physician Dr. Joel Fuhrman discuss intentionally practicing laughter for its proven physical and mental health benefits, showing that even the act of laughing can be therapeutic. Choose laughter.
Okay, those are powerful, timeless strategies rooted in ancient philosophy. Really useful. But feeling unproductive also ties into how we structure our work and goals, right? Let's shift gears and look at what modern productivity science offers.
Right, this is where we bridge the gap, taking that foundation of mindset and applying it to practical systems within our work lives. A key insight from experts like James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, is the importance of focusing on systems, not just goals.
Okay, explain that difference. Goals are the destination, but systems are how you actually travel there. Is that the idea?
Exactly. He uses the analogy of a rowboat. The goal, say, reaching the other side of the lake, is the rudder. It gives you direction. But the system, the consistent practice of rowing, is the oars. You need to row to get anywhere. The daily practice, the process, the system is what actually produces results over time.
So the goal points you, the system moves you.
Precisely. The goal helps clarify what kind of system you need to build, but you spend your time operating the system. You won't cross the lake just by pointing the rudder. You have to row consistently.
This perspective highlights another crucial point you mentioned. Ruthlessly eliminating goals. That sounds counterintuitive.
It does, but it addresses a common problem: goal competition. Psychologists and productivity experts note that one of the biggest obstacles to achieving any single goal isn't lack of motivation for that goal,
Yeah.
but having too many other goals competing for your finite time, energy, and attention. We often think we need more time or bigger aspirations, but what we truly need is sharper focus.
So you need to prune your goals like a gardener prunes a plant. Is that the analogy?
That's the analogy used in the sources, and it's perfect. A rose bush produces more buds than it can possibly bring to full bloom. A skilled gardener prunes away the weaker buds to allow the strongest one to flourish magnificently.
Okay.
Our many ideas and goals are similar. It's natural to generate a lot of them, get excited, but having the courage and discipline to prune away the good ones allows the best ones to receive the necessary resources, time, energy, focus to truly thrive.
So it's about selection.
Exactly. This isn't about setting bigger goals. It's about better selection and focus. Techniques like the Ivy Lee method, prioritizing just 6 tasks, or the Eisenhower box, categorizing by urgency and importance, are practical tools for this ruthless elimination.
Okay, so once you've selected your crucial goals and identified the system needed, how do you make sure you actually stick to it consistently? That's the hard part.
It really is. And this is where stacking your goals, or more technically using implementation intentions, becomes powerful. Research consistently shows that people are significantly more likely to follow through on a new behavior if they make a specific plan about when, where, and how they will do it.
Like really specific.
Yeah. One study on exercise adherence found that participants who used this strategy were 2 to 3 times more likely to stick with their workout plan compared to those who didn't make such a specific plan.
So instead of just saying, I need to start writing, you plan, after I finish my morning coffee, I will write for 30 minutes at my desk, something like that.
Precisely. That after current habit, I will new habit, or when specific cue, I will specific action, is the implementation, intention, or habit stacking formula.
Right.
It links the new desired behavior to an existing routine or a specific time and place. This bypasses the need for pure willpower each time. The cue automatically triggers the desired action, making it much easier to integrate new habits into your daily life and build that consistent system.
Another interesting tactic you brought up is setting an upper bound for your effort, not just a minimum. That seems weird too.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? We're typically conditioned to think about minimums. I need to lose at least 10 pounds, or I must write at least 1,000 words a day. But setting an upper limit like, I will not write more than 1,500 words, or I will work on this project for no more than 2 hours today, can be surprisingly effective.
How does that help with the stress of unproductivity or hustle culture? That seems like it would make it worse.
You'd think so, but it directly combats the more is always better mentality of hustle culture and helps prevent burnout.
Okay.
There's a zone of sustainable effort. Pushing too hard, too fast, is often unsustainable and leads to quitting. Setting an upper bound encourages consistency over intensity, especially in the early stages of building a habit or tackling a new project.
So it makes it less daunting.
Exactly. It makes showing up regularly feel less daunting and more manageable, which is crucial for building long-term progress and combating the feeling that you should be doing infinitely more. It gives you permission to stop when you've done enough for that session.
Permission to stop. That feels revolutionary. And our environment plays a huge role in how easy or hard it is to stick to our planned actions, doesn't it?
It's absolutely fundamental. Aligning your environment with your goals is often called choice architecture, or simply designing your surroundings strategically. Our decisions and behaviors are heavily influenced by the cues and options presented by our environment.
Right.
If tempting distractions are easily accessible, we're more likely to engage with them. If the tools for desired actions are prominent and easy to access, we're more likely to use them.
So make the desired action the path of least resistance, like physically easier.
Exactly. Want to eat healthier? Place healthy food items visibly in your fridge and pantry, and keep less healthy options out of sight or harder to reach. Want to read more? Keep a book on your nightstand or desk instead of your phone.
Okay.
Want to exercise? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Remove distractions like your phone from your workspace or use website app blockers. Simple visual cues like using the paperclip strategy, moving a paperclip for each unit of work completed, or the Seinfeld strategy, marking an X on a calendar every day you complete a task, make progress visible and motivating.
Little tricks to make it obvious.
Yeah, you can also use opt-out strategies like pre-scheduling a workout class or block of focused work time so you have to actively cancel it, opt out, which requires more conscious effort than having to choose to start it, opt in. Designing your environment makes the positive choice the default choice.
And finally, measuring your goals. It's not just about tracking the outcome, is it? There's more to it.
No, the sources emphasize that measurement is crucial for feedback and evidence, which fuels motivation. You know the saying, what gets measured gets improved.
Mm-hmm.
But the real power, especially in combating the stress of unproductivity, isn't just measuring the result, like weight loss or project completion. It's about measuring your showing up.
The process again.
Yes.
Right.
Tracking whether you put in the planned time, completed the system tasks, engaged in the desired behavior. This gives you data on your process, helps you understand what's working and what's not, and provides tangible proof that you are, in fact, doing the work.
Right.
Which counteracts that subjective feeling of never doing enough. Measurement is a tool for discovery about your own habits and effectiveness.
Okay, so those are powerful strategies from goal setting and productivity science to build better habits and systems. But sometimes the stress is just so pervasive it feels overwhelming no matter the system.
This leads us to the concept of mindful productivity. Right. Mindful productivity is presented as a direct antidote to that feeling of being overwhelmed and constantly stressed. It's not about squeezing more out of every minute. It's about working better with more intention, focus, and a calmer presence.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly. It emphasizes quality over sheer quantity of output and encourages finding enjoyment in the process itself, not just the outcome.
And what are the key benefits of this approach? Why does it help with the stress?
Well, they're significant. Firstly, it leads to sharper focus and fewer mistakes. As one source notes, many errors occur not because of lack of skill, but because of a lack of focused attention.
Like when you're distracted.
Right. When your mind is racing or trying to multitask, you're prone to errors. Think of assembling complicated furniture while distracted. Mindful productivity, by training your attention, helps you stay centered on the task at hand. A simple practice is taking just 1 minute before starting a task to focus on your breath and ground yourself.
It also seems counterintuitive, but you said it aids creativity.
Well, creativity thrives in a mind that has space, and chaos is its enemy. Mindful productivity helps clear mental clutter. Imagine your mind is like a snow globe.
Okay.
When it's constantly shaken by rushing from task to task, multitasking, and stress, the snow, your ideas and insights, is obscured. When you allow the mind to settle through focused attention and intentional breaks, the snow settles and you get a clear view, allowing creative ideas to surface.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, scheduling distraction-free blocks of time, even just 15-20 minutes, and using blocking apps can protect this necessary mental space for creativity.
And it acts as a crucial buffer against burnout, which is huge.
Absolutely critical. Burnout is the result of chronic stress and depletion from relentless pushing. Mindful productivity encourages deliberate pacing, intentional breaks, and emotional regulation.
So breaks aren't lazy.
No. It reframes breaks, not as wasted time, but as essential reset buttons that allow you to return to work refreshed. Even short 5-minute pauses away from your screen can make a difference in recharging your mental batteries and maintaining clarity throughout the day. Setting a timer for a mindful pause every couple of hours is a practical way to integrate this.
What are some other practical ways to implement mindful productivity, like day to day?
Well, you could start by anchoring your day with intention. Instead of letting your inbox or external demands dictate your morning, take a few minutes to identify just 3 key tasks you want to accomplish. This provides a clear focus and prevents you from feeling scattered.
Just 3 things.
Yeah. And batch similar tasks. Mindfully group emails together, creative work together, administrative tasks together. This reduces the cognitive load and decision fatigue that comes from constantly switching contexts.
Right, less switching.
Think of it like meal prepping for your brain. Dedicating blocks for specific types of work makes the transition smoother and less draining.
And digital wellness seems essential here, given how connected we are.
It's non-negotiable in our current environment, really. Mindful productivity requires controlling distractions. Turn off non-essential notifications on your phone and computer. Seriously.
Okay.
Use blocking apps like Freedom during dedicated focus time. Establish technology-free zones or times perhaps no phones in the bedroom or no screens during meals. Regular digital detoxes, even starting with just 1 day a week, can help you reconnect with non-digital life and reset your relationship with technology, which often fuels the feeling of constant availability and pressure. Start small, like blocking 1 distracting app for an hour a day.
All these strategies, from ancient stoicism to modern productivity hacks, seem to lead towards a gentler, more self-aware approach. And that brings us back to that pivotal finding from the research study on hustle culture and distress: the power of self-compassion.
This finding was incredibly powerful because it wasn't just about identifying a problem. It pointed directly to a key part of the solution. The study found that self-compassion not only reduces general psychological distress, but crucially, it acts as a moderating variable, meaning it weakens the link between hustle culture pressure and distress. It creates a buffer, making you less susceptible to the negative impacts of that external pressure.
So it makes you more resilient to the negative effects of hustle culture, like a shield.
Exactly. It mitigates the harm. The study defines self-compassion in terms of self-acceptance, being kind and understanding towards yourself rather than harshly self-critical, acknowledging your weaknesses without excessive judgment, and recognizing your shared humanity, understanding that suffering, struggle, and imperfection are part of the universal human experience.
So it's not about feeling sorry for yourself, but more like treating yourself like you'd treat a good friend.
Precisely. It's extending the same patience, understanding, and kindness to yourself that you would readily offer a friend who is struggling or has made a mistake. This creates a sense of emotional safety, allowing you to explore your thoughts and feelings honestly without fear of judgment.
Right.
It fosters resilience and provides a solid foundation for genuine growth, paradoxically making you more capable of facing challenges.
And the common humanity aspect was particularly influential, you said. Why is that important?
Yes. The study found that recognizing you're not alone in your struggles, understanding that imperfection and difficulty are part of being human, was a key indicator of self-compassion's effectiveness.
So knowing others struggle too helps.
Yeah. This sense of shared experience directly counters the isolation and the intense self-criticism fueled by hustle culture, which often portrays success as effortless and failure as a purely personal defect. When you accept that struggling is normal, the external pressure to be perfect loses its power to distress you as much.
This brings us then to the ultimate goal, really. Redefining success itself, moving away from those external pressures towards internal fulfillment.
This is the essential final piece, as highlighted in one of the sources.
Right.
If the traditional definition of success measured by external metrics, achieved through relentless grind, is making us stressed and feel inadequate, then the definition itself needs an overhaul.
The traditional model is critiqued as linear, externally validated, and achievement-obsessed, like climbing a ladder.
It's the classic ladder climbing model. A higher title, Bigger salary, more impressive achievements listed on a resume. While not inherently bad, this model is often rigid, fails to account for the messy realities and complexities of life, and often leaves people feeling exhausted and empty upon reaching a milestone asking, is this it?
Yeah, that hollow feeling. And a crucial realization here is that any version of success that demands you abandon your core self, your values, or your well-being along the way, well, it isn't actually success worth pursuing, is it?
That's the fundamental truth this journey leads us to. It requires shifting the internal questions we ask ourselves. Stop asking, what's the next rung on the ladder? What achievement will impress others? Or how can I possibly squeeze in more?
Okay, so what should we ask instead?
Pivot to questions like, what feels deeply aligned with the person I'm trying to become? What activities, tasks, and relationships genuinely bring me energy, meaning, and joy? And what do I want to create in the world? And who do I want to be while I'm creating it?
It's a profound shift from trying to prove yourself to others to focusing on the process of becoming the person you truly want to be.
And this internal metric changes everything. When you define success internally, it can look vastly different from the conventional picture.
Like what? What could it look like?
Well, personal success might mean consistently feeling calm and centered, establishing and maintaining strong boundaries, finding deep engagement and energy in your work, even if it's not the most prestigious. Prioritizing time for meaningful relationships or creative pursuits, leading with integrity even when it's hard, consciously letting go of the need for perfection, or simply being fully present in your daily life.
Success, defined this way, is quiet, it's personal, it doesn't need external validation, it just needs to be true for you.
And this is your permission slip.
Yeah.
You are entirely authorized to redefine what success means in your life. You can shift the metrics away from external ladders, numbers, and approval. You have the agency to build a life and design your work in a way that supports your wholeness, your well-being, and your values.
Yeah.
Rather than constantly sacrificing them for an external ideal that may never truly satisfy you.
This kind of success isn't a finish line you cross after checking off a prescribed list of accomplishments. It's more like a continuous way of being. Rooted in your own deeply held values, your personal vision for a meaningful life, and your commitment to your own well-being.
And paradoxically, when success is defined and pursued in this integrated way, it becomes far more sustainable, resilient, and ultimately deeply fulfilling. It acknowledges, as one source points out, that until broader societal systems fundamentally change, you may still feel like you're swimming against a strong current.
It's still hard work.
It is. The crucial ongoing work, then, is cultivating that internal sense of enoughness, recognizing your worth and achievements from the inside out, independent of the world's often unrealistic and harmful metrics.
So we embarked on this deep dive by acknowledging that stressful feeling of unproductivity, fueled by hustle culture and relentless external pressure. We found powerful ancient wisdom in Stoicism, reminding us that our response to stressors, our perception, is where our power lies.
Right, the dichotomy of control.
Exactly. We explored a whole range of practical strategies, blending Stoic principles with modern insights from goal setting, mindful productivity, and the vital practice of self-compassion.
Yeah, lots of tools there.
And ultimately, we arrived at the essential conclusion. The path to reducing the stress lies in having the courage to redefine what success truly means, shifting from external validation to an internal sense of purpose, joy, and well-being.
The key takeaway really is this. True, sustainable, and healthy success isn't found in doing infinitely more, working yourself into the ground, or desperately chasing arbitrary external standards. It's about aligning your actions, your definition of achievement, and your sense of value with your internal compass. Your values, your well-being, your capacity for joy, and your unique purpose.
Find your own compass.
Yeah. It's about consciously choosing your own metrics and cultivating that quiet, powerful sense of enoughness within yourself, regardless of the external noise.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener. In a world that constantly bombards you with messages to be more, do more, achieve more, and measures your worth by ladders and numbers, what is one small, perhaps countercultural way you can consciously choose to prioritize your own quiet, personal definition of success today? Something that honors your well-being, aligns with your values, and moves you closer to becoming the person you want to be, even if it feels like stepping off the conventional path. Think about that as you go about your day.